you know what I think should happen to people who are that selfish? Like, I don't want to have kids, fuck them
On
kids and all
Social
of that.
Security.
When it comes down to it, when they get to 65 years old in retirement
No Social
age,
Security benefit.
and they filling out their
crazy.
application for
That's extreme.
and they filling out
What?
their application for Medicare.
What are we, China?
No, yeah, god damn it. If you're gonna be that selfish, you're absolutely fucking right. If you filling out that Medicare application and it says, "Oh, did you have children?" No. Oh, denied. Oh,
No.
did
Did you want children? No.
Denied.
Were you able to have children? Yes, but I did not want them. Denied.
Social
So many
Security.
people will claim
You
other
want?
people's children.
I don't give a
happens.
fuck what you claimed. If you ain't put them babies out yourself, denied. Fuck you, because you selfish. You didn't want to. You wanted to live your.
This is why you're not the president. That's crazy.
But then,
Yeah, if I was the president, I'd force y'all motherfuckers to stay together.
See?
So then they can't pay into the system either. Then, if that's the case,
no, you're gonna pay into the system
that presents its own. Why are you paying into the system?
Because you pay for the generation before you.
You pay for the generation before
when you don't have kids, that means my kids have to pay for me and you.
Okay, but let's talk about the boomer generation.
Oh, fuck that.
Did they actually think about us and our future?
Or did they should have been denied too. Well, actually, no. The boomer generation. So the boomer generation was just
our parents.
Very large. So we lost a lot of Social Security to them because of after the war. Obviously, they all came back and they started humping like jackrabbits.
And then they bought the houses for like $2. And they're like, why can't you do it?
But yeah,
y'all gotta stop talking about that generation. Did sacrificed a lot more than what you.
Silent generation sacrificed a lot.
Yeah,
boomer generation was extremely selfish.
They were the first very selfish generation we have on record.
And I think birth control happened during their generation too.
Hold on, you're talking about the white race or the black race of boomers?
Overall, we didn't.
All of them.
Overall.
Overall, the whole group of them, the whole lot of them, they were all selfish.
Like, look at black women, look at black men. Like, we're all selfish.
People that's why when people say they grandparents, I'm like, no, your great grandparents, because y'all love to give y'all.
I can't call black people selfish, bro, because we didn't have the opportunity to maintain our world and never got destroyed. I do believe I can't do that to my people.
Is it selfish?
I cannot do that to my people, man. Look. I believe when we had set up Wall Street, Black Wall Street, if that shit would have never got destroyed, I firmly believe that we would have been, especially
a generation.
If we would have had,
That's a different generation. Boomer generation
was not the baby boomers.
So you're saying, are you saying
that
if we get reparations tomorrow, you don't think that the people will pass on inheritance to the
future? No.
I think motherfuckers gonna go to the club.
No, hold on, darling. You misunderstanding what I'm saying. The generation that you're crediting for that is not the boomer generation. The boomer generation, even in the black community, is selfish. The silent generation and the generation before that, and the generation before that were the ones that did all the sacrifice and fought dogs and water hoses and did all of that shit. The boomer generation was the ones that was just the product of them, who a lot of them didn't even participate in like the civil rights. They didn't even carry it on.
And
shit got so much easier. And you know what they say about people who make your child's life easy, what happens to you?
They get soft like marshmallows.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I'm
just saying that I just feel like it just makes sense. I mean, like black people are out here talking about systemic racism and how they can't get a leg up in the economy, but then to get to actual wishes of the reparations that we've been fighting for, I mean, it just makes sense that they're probably gonna push it forward to the kids because they're not gonna be able to spend it all in their lifetime. I mean, we would like to think that, right?
In the state of California, we passed reparations.
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah, we did.
What?
Governor Newsom signed it into law.
Hold on, y'all got reparations? Why is it a state thing?
But they're still deciding if it's going to be $1 million or $100,000. They're still debating on the amounts, but it's
so. How could they sign a law in without an amount?
So he gave a verbal
because
he gave there was an announcement and a public apology. And the announcement for it was 3 bills that were supposed to go up,
and he signed them.
So he signed one. The other 2 he didn't bring to the floor, and the Republican actually brought it to the floor and had them vote on it. They voted it down. It was a huge thing right before the election where they was talking about how they was playing with the reparations. I think it was SB 150 or 143 or.
Who the hell struck it down?
Okay, so to answer your question, Trey,
they didn't have a way to fund the bill, and then
but that's what Governor Newsom did. They finally agreed on a budget. We just don't know how we're going to allocate the budget. We don't know.
They can't. They're in super debt right now. There's no way.
First of all, we are like top 5.
Oh yeah, there's a riot going on. Is just taking away a lot of
No, before the fires, before they listen.
What state do you live in? Out of curiosity.
They still gotta have Biggie trial. They still gotta have Biggie Smalls trial.
The other communist state.
Well, I know LA is gonna be bankrupt if they ever decide to have
those YNs in LA
Biggie
are
Smalls trial. But they keep trying to avoid having his trial or whatever, or serving or hearing the lawsuit, the civil suit. For what's her name? Wallace. What's her name? Miss Wallace. I forgot what her first name is. But
yeah, so
that's a lawsuit that literally would bankrupt Los Angeles if they decide.
They're 12 billion. Really? They're 12 billion in debt as it is prior to riots.
But how much do we earn?
It doesn't matter. You're in debt.
Because we're not in the red.
The Lakers
yes, they are. $12 billion deficit. In the state of California, he's trying to rebudget it right now. This has been going on for weeks. They've been talking about how bad the budget is.
Is LA? I mean, is this city? I mean, does city have its autonomy of debt, or is it collective in the state?
The state. That's which is Gavin. Which we was talking about Gavin Newsom. He's the governor.
But then also each county has their own board of supervisors, and the board of supervisors allocates budgets for schools, police, hospitals, all of it. This I think LA County controls. I think I don't know the number. I know it's more than 10 million, between 10 million to 100 million. Just 5 individuals.
Those township with money are not giving you reparations. It's going to be from the state itself.
Yeah, that is absolutely true.
Man, well, look, man, this reparation
but
argument,
the reparations
man,
it's here.
I hate to keep having it.
Don't get hyped.
I'm just honest with you.
Don't hold your breath.
I'm being honest with you, bro. I don't know what is it gonna take to actually pull that off. I just do not know, man.
Okay, so
I don't know, man.
This is the apathy, though. How can we want reparations and be like, oh well, it's never gonna come anyway, and then not do anything?
I think there's a group of people doing something about it. I don't know if it's enough.
So, like, pessimistic.
I don't know if it's enough.
What do you mean?
I don't know if we're doing enough to get the ball moving. To actually get
what would be your ideal, like, what would it look like if it was working to you?
This is what it would look like. It would look like if when we start voting for Democrat and Republican or putting people off, it will be clearly on the ballot, solidified that this person is pushing reparations.
Whoa.
They were voting for Kamala, and Kamala was tiptoeing around the conversations in the interviews. And they kept saying she's going to help us get reparations. She didn't even want to have no fucking conversation about it.
May I ask you?
So I'm like, I don't know if that. I don't know who's doing what, but
it's because white people they don't feel like they actually contributed to any of it. Like, they don't think that they should pay for the mistakes of their forefathers.
Well, first of all, they don't think it was a mistake.
Oh Lord!
Oh my God!
They don't think it was a mistake.
Fuck.
You don't believe you think these people thought that was? Listen, when you come over and take something, that was intentional. When you put somebody into, there were laws backed by the Pope or the what do you call it over there? Whenever you take somebody into slavery and ownership, you had guidelines and you can do whatever you want. It wasn't no mistake. But they don't think it was a mistake.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. Like, their grandfathers actually thought they were entitled to do it. But the average white person today, do you think the average white person today feels the same way? Probably not. And he's
the average white person. Which way you saying they feel?
Wait, what was that, dear?
I'm asking which way you saying they feel.
Who? I think modern white people think that there's Black privilege and that they shouldn't be held accountable for what their forefathers believed. They're separate.
And you know how many people? You know how many white people are voting versus pound for pound versus Black people?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that? Do you know that? Do you know that it only takes a small percentage of them to vote for reparations in combination with our large vote to get it right? And that's not even happening. Like,
because they don't understand why.
They can sit here and say that. They can sit here and come to you and hang out with you. Yeah, I got black friends. Yeah, reparations, you got it. But when it comes to voting for that shit, it's a whole nother different ball game.
I threw them articles in the back too, just in case. I know you went to check them out. It's actually way worse. Their budget, they have a budget deficit of $12 billion. Their debt is actually $1.6 trillion.
What?
Damn.
Hold on.
I'm talking about reparations, goddamn.
Okay, so May 13th.
Well, see, that's just gonna go in debt even more, Trev. Let's just be honest. If anybody take reparations out, they're just gonna go in more debt. They're not gonna try to zero out and earn and get a positive ROI or some shit like that. They're gonna actually go into more debt to compensate for that. Like nobody's holding a gun and hey, you gotta pay your debt.
That's true. But to them, they're not paying it. We are.
And it's just, I'm telling you, what's gonna happen is if they do go in debt for giving out reparations, it's just obviously it's gonna cause inflation more, right? So the amount of money we think we get, and it's really not. It's really lost its value by the time they disperse it out.
That's right.
You need to have to pay it out.
But even with that, it can only cause but so much.
Shout out to Zoe Carp with the $49.99 says single income household only seems unrealistic to women who can't cooperate. I think
ouch.
Ooh, shit. We should have been got that super chat.
You need a shot. You need a Jamaican horn. For that
Jamaican horn.
Okay, so Governor Gavin Newsom announced Wednesday that California is facing a $12 billion budget deficit, spurred by soaring cost of social services as the state economy teeters from President Donald Trump's chaotic traffic strategy. Unveiling.
Yep, I put the other link in there too. It shows their full. So that's their budget deficit, but their total debt is 1.6 trillion, which is out of control.
But this is
that's like 10% of the GDP.
But if the federal government doesn't like protect the borders, right? Then all of those undocumented people flood into California and overwhelm our system, and we have to pay for them because the federal government isn't doing it.
That's why they got to kick them out. They're in there right now. They deployed troops over there.
They're leaving.
They deployed troops over there.
Trump
all of them.
You don't know. You don't realize what Trump is going to go get America's money out that's tied up in all this bullshit. That's why he cut DEI, all these other little branches, the Department of Education.
That's
and stuff.
part of it. The best way to do it is to make more money. I think the energy plan is going to help make more money, keep jobs here. A lot of foreign investment.
Did you look at the heat map? Did you look at the heat map of all the China-owned farmland over here in America?
Ooh, let's look at that one.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
You saw that heat map? they own almost 80 to 90% of farmlands over here. China.
That's insane.
Which shouldn't even be legal. We can't buy their land like that.
Can you understand what Trump was trying to
sold out who?
Come on, man. I'm not gonna get into politics because that's not my lane. I usually try to. If I got into politics, bro, I would be a fucking. They probably had me on Fox somewhere or some shit. But I'm gonna tell you right now.
Can you imagine if we saw him on Fox?
Nah, I'm not gonna do that. Nah, I'm not gonna do that. But look, I just heard that they were actually hiring people to go out and protest and destroy shit.
I heard that, but I mean there's nothing to substantiate that. Yeah. I've heard a lot of claims, but not a single person has ever proven it. Not a single person.
I agree. At the end of the day, we have First Amendment rights, period. And in my opinion, it's not even about this immigrant issue. It's about creating precedent where someone can just, because they feel like it, forget due process, forget the Constitution, and do whatever the fuck they want. And that's not what our foundational Black Americans died for. That's not what we fought for. That's not.
So who were constitutional rights designed for?
Constitutional rights were designed for the sovereign people of the United States of America. But even in the Constitution, it says if your government is being unjust because you are a product of God, you have every right to reject the government. You have rights.
We did get, but that's not being unjust. You have people who are coming in who did not pay into the system, who are taking the jobs, not just the jobs, but the resources from people who have, right? People who actually had the right to be here. They're jumping the line from their fellow citizens and saying F you to them as well. They're just saying F everybody. I'm going to do what I want, and it's on your dime. Y'all going to pay for me, and we're going to be cool about it. No, that's not how it works.
And
There's
I don't
a
think
system.
That's right. Correct. But
that's not right.
You don't think it's right, but there was an office and many other offices who believe that that is right. That's why we in the situation we in. You got a new office of people that came in is trying to reverse that shit. Yeah. And this is what it's causing.
Yeah, because
but then also, like, I really do not see white men like doing construction jobs or farming jobs. They think it's beneath them.
What? You don't see white men doing construction?
No,
that's what the unions. That's what the unions were built on.
I see one white guy, maybe 4
no,
or 5
well,
black guys, and the rest of them are
no, not even. No, they're out here.
And just because the groundwork, the guys that's doing the hands-on in construction doesn't mean white people ain't involved. These guys are. I'm just saying. You got guys involved, and you got them running the companies, construction companies, and the ones that you're exposed to is the small-time construction companies that's building these little database centers and on the road. When you go look at motherfucking skyscrapers in New York City and shit like that, contractors out there, like you see a lot of white people, black people, all kind of races is out there working hundreds of feet in the air.
Yeah.
So what? Who do you think is doing those jobs? Who's doing those jobs that you describe?
Men.
No, what kind of men? Because you said you don't see white men doing certain what kind of men are doing these jobs?
I would say for the construction jobs.
Yeah, the ones you're talking about.
Like men of color, like black men, mostly honestly undocumented men.
Right. Okay. And how much do you think they're paying them?
Below minimum.
Below minimum. What do you think that does to the person who may have qualified for that job? Will they get paid more or less?
Get a better job.
No, it actually messes up the curb. See, when you have cheap labor, it actually messes up the curb, right? Because when you if I could hire you as
this is your business. Yes.
Let's say you were into like you're a cook. A lot of them are cooks too, right? Let's say you were a cook, right? You went to a little culinary school, whatever, and you probably would get paid $15 an hour. But now they got another cat, right? And Wardo can go ahead and do it for like $7.
And he's not going to say anything because he's undocumented.
Right. So now you can't get paid 15 because they're going to pick up, they're going to pick up Rhea.
Okay. We'll hire you if you can work for 7.
But
I'm
saying. I'm not working.
I'm like, what? Why would I do this?
No, but I know what you're saying, but that's a lot of people's reality. A lot of people did have those jobs as culinary workers, which they just will throw anybody in there right now, right? And they get paid less, or maybe janitorial. It might have been housekeeping. All of those jobs are now way lower wages because they came in and messed the curb up.
And
you know what I'm saying?
Imagine working at a company making $35 an hour.
Okay.
And then, hey, look, we're gonna do some budget cuts and we're gonna downsize and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to continue working here, you got to be okay with less time off, and we're gonna cut your wages 50%.
Damn.
That would hurt.
And then you're gonna be like,
you would be mad as hell.
No,
you would be mad as hell.
The tech industry, that's literally what I struggle with. Like, that's what everyone here struggles with. That's the nature of the game. And so what people end up doing is one of two things. They either start their own shit or they go to another place that will pay more.
Yep, and when you leave, somebody's coming in to fill that and make 50%.
I'm gonna give you a hint. You on the wrong coast. You on the wrong coast. I mean, it is a tech hub. You're in the tech hub, that whole west little cluster over there.
Yes.
But if you go to the right side, there's less of us to do that, so you get paid more.
Really?
Get out of there.
Why do you think so many women are doing OnlyFans?
Go look.
Because they're stupid and lazy.
And cost of living is outrageous. I don't see how people would want to live in California for any reason.
So you telling me if you couldn't get a job, you telling me you wouldn't do OnlyFans?
Hell no.
People in North Korea think they happy too.
How would you pay your bills then?
I'll figure something out. 4 or 5 jobs. I don't know. I'll do something.
4 or 5 jobs.
I would listen. You don't understand the level of disgrace. If my father even could smell that I had an OF account, it's not even worth all that struggle. I'd rather work at McDonald's.
Well, I'm glad you feel like that. Look,
No.
People don't have that type of integrity.
We finally we got a I was a part of
that's
a
even
polling
scary
study.
to think about.
Was a part of a polling study at the University of Virginia State, and we finally got access to it. It took us. This happened in 2014.
I love this research portion.
And we finally got access to it because they didn't want to put the research out because it was embarrassing. Okay. And the study showed that in desperation, 8 out of 10 women who are single mothers will still continue to have sexual intercourse with their baby fathers.
It's not desperation.
Well, when the terms of desperation is okay that they're struggling with the utilities.
Oh,
keep the lights on.
I see.
So what that does is it gives women an alert that if you do decide to date or get in a relationship with a man who has a baby mother, it'd be wise of you to know her situation, her lifestyle, because that can determine whether she is maybe persuasive and get him to come back to clap the cheeks.
Absolutely.
To help out with resources.
Spin the block.
Do you think a man should still provide for that?
And the men are corroborating this, saying that they oftentimes are willing to do it.
Of course.
Well,
but do you think that's morally correct? Is that moral?
No, absolutely not.
Well, if you let them tell it, if you let the women, the single mothers, baby mothers tell it, they will say that the man is his child. He owes it's his responsibility. He owes an obligation.
That's such
to provide resources for the house that is the custodial house that is housing his child. It only makes sense morally.
As fuck.
Well, that's what you say, but these women they adamantly believe that the man should be able to, help out.
How do you move forward? But earlier we had a woman who said no living man could compare to her deceased husband because he's still providing for her.
What? So, say that again.
Remember?
No. She did say that. Bo said that.
Said what?
Bo said that.
No, it wasn't Bo. It was the girl before.
That wasn't Bo?
Yeah.
Oh no, you're right. I'm lying. God. No.
Hold on.
Black
no. Oh wait.
It wasn't Bo.
Yeah, no.
It was the other.
No, it wasn't Bo. No. She said something like that on a different.
She
place.
said how? She said her husband is providing for her.
Yeah, and that's why
his death benefit.
Yeah, the woman she dropped off real quick. The one I dropped off.
I don't know why she brought that up. If that was going to be, but see, these are the things these are the snipe. It's feel like it's like landmines whenever you're talking to women because they have all these traumatic experiences and then they volunteer and then you want more information and you end up triggering her and pushing them away. I'm like,
no.
You get what I'm saying? It's like
it's a manipulation tactic to avoid accountability.
She thought that we were gonna, and we probably should have done it. She thought that we were just gonna have the sympathy and let her off the hook from not, for not having the emotional intelligence to take care of the assets and the funds that was left behind properly. Correct. But the problem is we shouldn't have to ignore that because it was a loss. We should be pushing people to focus. Hey, look, you just lost a loved one. Your kids and your generation is still going to be here. You have to keep going. It's almost like when we were in the military. When my buddy to my left and my right fell, the mission still was on. We had to continue the mission.
Damn.
And when we try to communicate these differences between men and women, they don't want to hear it. That's why we keep saying men and women are different. If that was a man would have been like, okay, look, you're going to mourn. You're going to grieve. There's a time for that. But the bottom line is to continue the mission because I guarantee you, the loved one that you lost will want you to do that. Will want you to stay motivated and stay on track and do his best for yourself and your 100%. Children moving forward 100%. And not squander the money that was left behind 100%. Out of emotions. Because she probably drunk herself for months and years and just start blowing money here and there and spending out,
Meanwhile,
I get it, but I'm not gonna excuse it.
That man probably left that for the children, if we're gonna be really honest. not
So
simply
what?
just like
Oh shit! You said because she was a
inherent.
single mom? But see, I was trying to get y'all to talk about stuff like that, but y'all didn't want to because I know y'all was girl code sensitivity.
No, I'm not, bro. Don't even.
But we could have easily said, "Look, baby, maybe if you would shrink 50 pounds, it's very likely that the options would change because you keep talking about all these bad options." I'm saying, man, that your money ain't had nothing to do with it, especially if we living in y'all are saying we living in a day and age where men and women are coming together and putting their money in one pot and doing well.
I wish you said that.
So it's not the fact that you got all this money, it's other things that you may not want to hear at this time, and that women don't want to tell you because you just told this story. So now they got to be super empathetic at the time right now.
I mean, two things can happen at once, though. We should.
No, but that's y'all. That's how y'all hurt yourself.
I agree.
Because y'all actually think y'all doing her a favor and y'all actually causing more harm.
Mm-hmm. Because now she never actually gets to address the issue, and then she gets the victim.
Nope. She's gonna go on every panel, and the women are gonna call her.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, and
she'll never be able to get the options you want because none of y'all gonna tell her, hey, look, you need to get your image together.
Okay. Okay.
And I think that, and I think that's part of the harsh truth that a lot of women are not be able to accept and want to accept, and then they call it red pill and how red pill is toxic.
And how any woman who even listens is a pick-me.
Yeah, and how any woman who listens to that is a pick-me because she's trying to get picked, which is all stupid.
Literally why we're here, right? Like I want to be picked. Yeah.
Like I could see if she came up here and saying she don't want a man, now when nobody's gonna push that she needs to lose weight. But if she's sitting here complaining, saying, I want to find love, I want to move forward, I want a man, and then it's only makes sense for us to give you things that are applicable. Yeah. And what we can see right now, you'll have a rounded jawline.
Why is that important? Just for the listeners in the chat. Why? Because women, I don't think women, at least modern women, don't realize how much we are a reflection of our man. Really. And so being overweight isn't just him body shaming. Like it's not body shaming. It's a reflection of who the nurturer is in his life. I don't know.
Body shaming I think body shaming is taken out of context. Body shaming is, hey, look at you. You're huge and you're just disgusting. You know what I'm saying? Ill, get away from me. That's body shaming. But body optimizing, what I like to call it, is body awareness is saying, hey, look, you would look very good if you could fix things here and there. You know what I'm saying? Take care of that. Take care of your health. Take care of your nutrition. And you will look insanely beautiful if you do it. That's not body shaming.
Honestly, I agree. Honestly, if we're going to be very honest, if you're really in the mindset of being a wife, you're already doing these things before he tells you. To be honest,
but it's to NY point, it's Trev point in some of these conversations. Women just don't want you telling them to improve. They don't want you to improve. They want you to accept them who they are.
Yeah.
But whenever it's time for them whenever it's time for you to be looked at and evaluated, they want you to improve. Hey, you need to get your money right. You get what I'm saying? You need to get X, Y, and Z right.
That's an interesting double standard. Okay.
Yeah, you need to get financial stability. You need to prove that you can lead. You need to prove that you can take care of me. But when we tell her things to improve, no, you don't get to say that. Just take me who I am or go find somebody else. I'm like, God damn.
That's what happens when we coddle women.
Yeah, man. It's a shame, man. And then they call it, and I don't know if you think this, but they think we're predators. For example, if I'm a 35-year-old man, and I see the options I have, 35-year-old women, over 70% of them already have a kid. And then some of them, I think most of them have lost their eggs. They get mad at me if I want to go date the 25-year-old, saying I'm a predator because her frontal lobe hasn't fully developed. And I want to take advantage of her because her frontal lobe haven't developed.
Yeah.
All the while she drinks and smokes, which is a suppressor to her frontal lobe. So I'm like, you're suppressing your frontal lobe the entire time between 18 and 25. But now you care about your frontal lobe when it's time for me to select you. It just don't even make any sense to me. Like these arguments do not make any sense to me.
You know what it is? It's because
and then the legal age is 18.
Yeah.
I just chose 25 and I'm a predator. When these guys were choosing these 18-year-olds, it's back in the 1950s and 19s, those women were never complaining about a frontal lobe, and they were spitting babies out.
In the 50s, they weren't even doing that. But we're gonna talk about that.
We ain't gonna talk about that, Trav.
Wait, no, go ahead, Trav. I'm handing you.
But it's almost like they're indirectly exposing the fact that they are less mature than the women back in the days with way more resources and education development.
Crazy.
Which is, I'm like, you have all the you brag about the first time in history black women have led all of the in the most degree.
But your frontal lobe ain't developed.
Hey.
But you say I need time to mentally develop. I'm like, what the fuck is it? Which one is it?
But we're more mature than men, right? Yeah, I mean, look. Like I said, everything is just out of convenience.
Exactly.
If you have a child, you know that child is still a child, even if they're 18. There's not a big difference between an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old, really, in the way they think, in the way they still need guidance. They still need, someone to tell them what to do. And I think that's the fear. I think women are afraid of submission.
And that's why we had to ask the question, like, what are y'all single mothers or whatever y'all parents, what are y'all teaching them up until 18? Why do they got to go learn how to be adult after they leave the house? Why couldn't you teach them that shit when they were there under your roof?
Because they didn't, if we're going to be honest.
Because
well, go ahead, Trev.
It's a good portion of our parents and grandparents who were younger than that.
That's what I'm saying.
Frontal lobes.
See, that's what I'm saying. When our grandparents and our great grandparents was in our lives, they were actually helping you raise your kids and stuff. They were my grandparent was reading me story. My great grandmother would read me story, bathing me, fixing me food, and all this stuff.
Too.
Most of these kids in the future will never. The grandparents are becoming extinct. That's a whole generation that's cut off from the whole nuclear family.
They don't even want you to call her.
Because if you having your kids after 30, that means your first time grandmothers are going to be the age of 60.
Yeah. When
they used to be the age of 45, 46. Now they're the age of 60, and the great grandmother is passing away before she's around 75. So before the great grandbaby is born, the great grandma is already dead 10 years ago.
That's sad. That's actually.
And the great grandmother at that time don't even have the energy to be in a kid's life. I mean, the grandmother don't even have energy and time. As a 66-year-old, what is she doing? Like, she's not showing up at the games. She's not being involved. She's not cooking Thanksgiving dinner. Yeah. Not at the rate she would when she was back in the 60s and 70s. Grandmothers used to throw down in the kitchen.
This generation, the generation talking about John was the worst parents. They're gonna be the worst grandparents. They a wash. They parents was real parents. They ain't do shit like our parent age. They made latchkey kids. They didn't they got struck out on drugs.
They want to be your best friend.
They be your best. They lost the family home for whatever reason, and they kids had to suffer through it. And it's their parents were great parents. They did everything for them kids. They worked hard. They was able to buy homes and put them in good positions. Yeah. And then those kids fucked it up. And then what is that strong man?
Y'all remember Soul Food? Because it's no point of making movies like that ever. Those things are classics. Those things are antique classics. You'll never see anybody make it don't even make sense to remake the movie because people will look at it and be like, yo, that shit don't even happen in real life no more. Nobody has Big Mama no more. Nobody has Medea. Nobody has this great grandmother sitting here praying over the family over food and shit.
Well,
she dead and gone, and the grandmother is almost in the old folks' home. She's not even at the dinner table anymore.
That's unheard of in our culture. I think that's an American thing.
Yeah, that shit is gone, bro. That banana pudding and sweet potato pie, that shit is over with.
And that's why the YNs don't have respect for authority. Who's the
that YN soccer game?
That shit is over with. That shit is gone, y'all. This generation moving forward is gonna miss out on so many things that we used to have.
Even just.
Give me
you know what the crazy part about it all? The crazy part of all is the reason why these women are having their kids late is so they can be financially stable.
Yes.
And
Isn't
then
that
most of
important?
them don't even reach financial stability.
Wait,
They
hold
never
on.
reach it.
You said don't ever. God damn.
They don't.
What?
They're
more
50, 60, and
educated.
70. They don't even have enough to retire on. They can't even retire.
But they own
They're
houses.
living on, they have to stop working and live off Social Security. So they did all that sacrificing to work for, they were anti-capitalist, anti-corporate America. And then they go and work 20 to 30, 40 years and have nothing. Saying that they wanted to risk for that and delay your family for that. And then most of them don't even get to have kids. Like, and they all, and 90% of them, the stats show 90% of them regret it. And they're telling their daughters to wait till they get their freaking CRNA or whatever the fuck it is, certification, and when they're 35 and they have kids.
There's a cultural move to remove the family, remove men. So
This is the new slavery. You know how they used to cut. You know how in slavery they used to cut your generation. They used to cut your name, change your name so you can't trace your generation back, your family tree back. This is a new systemic method
or something.
By pushing women into corporate America to focus on their degrees in education to go work for. They're already they hate corporate America. They hate capitalism, but then turn around and delay family to go work for it.
You know why? Oh, so then this is what, as a government, we should incentivize women. We should have childcare. We should make it cool to be a mom again. A lot of women are doing this because there aren't any safety nets for mothers, really. If you get pregnant, you can get fired. Like,
yeah, women have a higher
protect mothers.
Women have a higher likelihood of receiving an STD before becoming a mother or married. It's a higher likelihood to get an STD between 18 and 30, which is crazy. That means that
that's wicked.
Even though you say you want financial ability to be a mother, you have a higher likelihood of contracting a sexual transmitted disease before that.
Oh shit!
Which means that you're lying to me that you don't want to delay. You still want to have your cake and eat it. You still want to get bust down.
Yeah.
You still want to bust. That's why I told these guys at 35, like if she come to you at 35 and 40, trying to say, yeah, you should take me. I have the value. You know, you don't get it. You don't get to go and do all that self-destruction and then come get the product. They call them, what do they call them? Finish liners? Somebody said finish liners.
The 11th man.
You don't give them that. You don't give them that opportunity. You tell them to no. You for recreational use.
But what about the women who did it right? Who listened to their parents, who weren't, out here.
They weren't out here what?
Busting it open for a real one or whatever. They're not getting chosen. Why do you think that is?
Who are you talking about? 30? What age are they?
I'm saying like 27, 28 to like 37.
That is a lie. If a woman told you she's not getting chosen, she's lying. These guys, when these women go to college, these guys, they're sitting here studying for their test. They're studying for their chemistry test, sitting across for their husband and tutoring. That's your husband. He's sitting there with you for a reason. He just don't have the balls to speak up. These guys, these women are meeting. Come on, be honest, Ann. When you go to college, you're meeting a shit ton of men trying to shoot their shot at you all the time.
But wanting to sleep with me and wanting to be my husband are two different things. Yo,
that's correct. But
that's correct.
But do you feel like they were all doing that? Do you feel like all them cats was doing that, or maybe you just, you know what? Maybe I don't really like him like that, or he's kind of short.
Nope.
I think. Okay, I'm gonna be very honest with you. Young men in college are just trying to have fun. They're not trying to be.
Well, how do you explain all of these white women getting a wife before spring or some shit like that?
Ring before spring is what they call it.
Are you going on the record to say it's just black men doing that?
No.
But then how do you explain all the other races getting the rings before spring? That's what I'm saying. You got to start looking at this stuff and connecting the dots.
Okay, I see.
And you have to jump to the conclusion that these women are lying when they say this shit. They're lying. Because black men want to get married too. They want to have relationships. They can't just sit here and throw us and say, oh, we just only want sex. No. They need to quit the lying, man.
No, a lot of them just want to be financially stable before they actually really commit to a real one.
Yeah, but guess what? But the same thing, the other races are doing it at the same time. There's nothing that stops you from having a relationship. Just like when you're still going to have to go to work, which is going to be more demanding than school.
I see
right?
what you're saying. Yeah, and I see. Yeah, that. Honestly,
And look, I always tell people, like, look, you know what? It doesn't have to be a hindrance. Like, your person can actually help you get through the school. Y'all can study together. Y'all can motivate each other. Like, why do you think that it's going to be like a hindrance? Like, he's just going to want to take away from you and distract you. He's
interrupting her ability to have other options.
What
options of what?
It's more profitable for a modern woman to have multiple men who will simp for her than to be committed to one. She's more likely.
Profitable?
Are you justifying that?
No, I'm not justifying. I'm explaining the reality. Right? Like, the reason why she doesn't want to settle down with that one person is because she could be potentially cutting off her opportunities to go on trips, to meet all different types, to have a
just say hot girl summer.
You know what? Yeah, summer. Pretty much. That's what that is. And guess what? And that could be correct. And that could be correct, right? But there's always choices and trade-offs. So no matter how you spin it, she could choose that, or she could get herself a husband, right? Because they get mad at all these guys when they're like, well, damn, why he went and grabbed one of them? He could have got one of us. The reason why is because she pushed up, she pressed, she wasn't bashful, she got in his way or did whatever she needed to do to nab that man when y'all was ignoring his ass, when y'all was worried about the career.
Why do you think Kevin
Sings said, I got to study school.
Why do you think Kevin Sings was doing that? He was telling these women in the droves that no, you don't qualify, and these women kept saying, "I do." He was telling you, "No, you don't," because of the path you chose has disqualified you.
Darwin just said you have a more likely chance of getting, a STI, whatever. So that means that you're still doing some of the other things. You're still going out. You're still smashing. You're still doing all the other stuff, right?
So all of this stuff about what about the women who are doing it right? That shit is not even a thing.
I feel okay. So if you go on TikTok, there's women 30, 40, 50 and up, and they're like, "Where's my husband?" They're crying on TikTok. It's a trend. I'm telling you, like, it's out here. They will say, I did everything quote unquote right. I listened to my parents. I finished school. I did all of these things. Where's my husband? I'll show you a video right now.
The issue with that, I believe you. The issue with that is their parents. That parent telling them to go. Can't you see a problem with that? And the parent is actually telling them, and they're culpable in this. They're telling their daughters to go out here and prepare for corporate America. And delay your family. And they think that is going to qualify them
in the future. Yeah. Whereas the other races are like, no, I need to find my husband today.
And we're not even accounting for all the women that actually go out there and have oops babies and come to the table at 35. We're not compensating for all of the women who had ABs all the way between 18 and 35 delaying motherhood. Like, you got to understand that these things are happening. These women are being trashed out for those 20 years or 15 to 20 years.
I have a question for you.
And then they want to come and bring those soul ties and that trauma to a man who was getting rejected between 18 and 25, 18 and 30, saying he need to go and get a bag and get on his purpose, and then he go get established. And now they're saying, this is what you have to choose from. And he's like, no, I don't want that. I want the one that I initially wanted. I wanted her at 21, 22. So now we go back and get her at 22. She's going to be having a different, that's what I'm saying. Like, but they eating these men alive for doing that. So it's like you're trying to force us to accept you at the low end of your peak, when all we got to do is go a little younger. And they call them predators for that. And I'm like, I don't even understand it. Like,
it's because she wants you to love her for her, not for the her capacity to bring in your legacy. Yeah.
She wants you to love her for
What's
her.
going on?
Yeah. She wants a partner.
Where the fuck is those blooms coming from, bro?
You tell us.
Oh, Trev, why do you do that, bro?
I can only mess with my square, bro. I can't.
What's the difference between your wife and some random 22-year-old?
Rainbow colors, wasn't it?
You know?
That's the second time tonight, too. I don't know what he's doing.
Man, I don't know this. Like this.
That laugh was so diabolical.
I don't know what I do. Oh, yeah, but what's your question though?
I forgot. Sorry, it's late.
It's cool, man. It's late, man.
Yeah.
But these are good, thought-provoking questions. I do.
But now,
one
you
question,
cannot.
I remember.
Now you can
understand.
understand.
Your
Okay.
wife and a 22-year-old baddie.
What the?
You said
My
what?
wife right now?
I'm not your. Okay, sorry. I'm tired. In general, what is the difference between your wife, the woman you choose to spend the rest of your life with, and some 22-year-old? Like, why wouldn't you trade in someone who was younger?
Oh shit!
Compound interest.
Oh damn! You telling me to trade in my wife? You asked me why would I not?
You specifically, but like.
How would you?
Yeah, you specifically, Darwin.
How can I answer that when you're saying your wife? How can you say not you specifically, but
Okay,
your
fine,
wife?
fine.
Just go to sleep, man.
Okay.
Ashanti warrior. Because you're trying to put me on the record, and then my wife gonna have to come back and watch this and be like,
bruh.
I'm not gonna.
Why would I trade it? Why would I trade her? And why wouldn't I just do what M White does? No, I'm just kidding.
That's crazy. Well, because you're older, you're more established. Like, you can basically sleep with the daughter, the grandma, and the mom.
Oh, what?
You
The
know?
grandma.
Hold on.
Yeah. Grandma wants it, mom wants it. And
I think we all sleep. We just hearing stuff.
Whoa.
I'm just saying, like, what compels a man to?
Hey, he just turned the end music on, I think. Was that the end music?
I can't.
Yo.
Right.
All I'm gonna say is, man, bro, you just gotta chill. You
Wait, what are the comments saying?
they cooking you in the comments, probably.
It's because I'm dark skinned.
No, actually, they cooking me.
Oh my god,
bro. Dub Will gonna throw the rainbow on me, bro. Bro, chill, bro.
Okay, just say you want a 22-year-old. Don't blame it on the
that's
woman
crazy.
you couldn't get.
Yo,
They are cooking you. What the heck?